I just like to say something about all these people getting injured. There was that one kid, he was on a slide. They showed a picture of the slide, and he said he hurt his back on a slide. And then they showed a picture of him, and he's definitely, I mean, I'm not hating on him because he likes to eat, but he's overweight. And it's probably his own weight. And the slide, the way slides are, they level out at the bottom. So he probably couldn't handle bouncing on a couch. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying you get like that, you're out of shape and your lower back is hauling all that weight around and your muscles can't handle it, and you're gonna create a stress in your life by doing that. I'm not saying I'm in shape, but I don't do the stuff that I used to do. And not because I don't want to, I just don't have time. But I wouldn't just go out there and just, I'd get in some shape before I do what I used to do. But these people, these rides, these people are getting on rides, and if you look around at the general public, if you go to a fair, if you just drive around, you can see that people aren't thin anymore. And they're not working out. Now I'm not saying there's not some strong people that have a lot of chunk weight. I'm not saying that. Because you look at power lifters and they're a ball of dynamic, but they're in shape. I doubt if they'd get on that ride and hurt their back. Now if they do, they're probably, if somebody gets on that ride and is in shape and then they claim that they hurt their back, maybe they had back before and they try to get money out of a ride and they say, well, it's not, I'm not going to listen to those people either, because they should start, instead of saying, of course there's a height because of sliding out of rides, and the safety restraints on the rides have to be able to hold somebody in. You can't put a toddler in a place and expect a seatbelt to hold them in. So of course there's a height, but now maybe they should have, I think there was a few years back, somebody said they was rejected from a ride because they were too big or something like that. I don't know if it was because the restraints couldn't hold them in, or if it was just the requirement, they thought the ride was too strenuous for somebody like that. I can't remember what it was. It was a few years back. And they tried suing the ride. They probably got money out of it, but the ride people were probably thinking ahead and saying, this ride is strenuous and people are out of shape. Somebody probably brought it to their attention. The reason, if they had people that, because you get on a roller coaster or whatever they call those, like wild chipmunk or wild mice rides where they just slam corners and stuff. That's, you got 300 pounds or 200 pounds, and it's just like jello or tofu or something like that, and your muscles aren't, it's going to throw stuff out of whack. When you hit a corner like that, the G-force is going to throw all that out of whack. Now, why these people are it doesn't even make sense. They think life should be made for marshmallows with toothpick bones, and that's how everything should be, And that means we're going to have to slow down vehicle traffic to approximately 3 to not 5 miles an hour, 3 to 4 miles an hour. That way, if anybody gets in an accident, it won't force their body to in fact, thinking about that, how many accidents are people hurt that are overweight in traffic accidents? That'd be a good study to see about traffic accidents and the difference between somebody that's in shape, what happens to them. Of course, I'm talking about everybody that wears seatbelts, but if they're in shape or if they're not in shape, and getting in traffic accidents, because that G-force of a sudden stop is going to cause more injuries than somebody that's they're a little tighter, and their bones and muscles and flesh and stuff is a little tighter than somebody that's just allowing their stuff to flow around. Now, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just stating facts. because I like food, and I don't, I like exercising. When I start exercising, I don't. It's not fun. You're in pain all the time. In fact, you're always basically, even when you're in great shape, there's a pain threshold that you deal with 90% of the time. But there's also a good feeling. You feel great, and there's certain times, you start thinking about whatever it is. There's always pain, in the workout and stuff like that. You're always dealing with that. But there's also a feeling of good. Now, being out of shape, I'm I'm pretty much I'm at a place where I should be getting in a little better shape. People. It seems like the older they get, there's not everybody, but the older they get, they think they can just lax on doing stuff because, well, that's all that was for, and it's painful to, just wait. But the reason it's painful is because you're living. You're going to deal with pain whether you're getting in shape or you're being thrown out of shape because of your lifestyle. But and going to gyms, I'm sure that overweight people are intimidated by being around people that are in shape. So maybe they should start something like where out of shape gyms. Where it's just they're all overweight, not Weight Watchers, but and instead of a speed, because these people don't want to move fast. Maybe they have in the past. Maybe they were fast. Maybe they've always moved slow. But maybe they're, instead of doing speed, most gyms, they get into speed and bike and running and all that stuff. Maybe they're more powerlifting. Maybe that's where they're at. But they're still, even you shouldn't lift weights. I mean, if your lower back, you're carrying all that and you're turning all your muscle into jello by not exercising, then you should develop that. They should have a way to develop people from that, like marshmallow status to, or couch potato status, to being able to actually work out status, to where they can actually, they develop their inner their basics, because if you go to a gym, they're not really worried on developing that. They're like, well, we're in shape. Then they probably don't think of that. And maybe that's what needs to happen in society. That'd probably be a great thing, because there's a lot of freaking. You drive around and I don't know if I don't know if people used to be that, or maybe I'm just noticing more that people are just out of shape. I don't remember when I was younger. Of course, they're I don't know. You go to church though, and they're all blocks. They've always been blocks of people. I mean, they're like those letter blocks you had as a kid, and you just stack them. And that's I don't know. The older they get, that's what they turn into, is just blocks. And but I think that they need gyms to help the people that are overweight. There's people that are overweight. They used to exercise, but now the pain they're dealing with to get back into shape. And you was a child. If you exercise, you probably was a child and you started working out. Now, I'm not saying everybody did, because there's people that they had a fantastic story. They used to be this and they got in shape. It's painful to get into shape, and it's a slow process. It might take you 5 years to get to a place where you think you should be able to start at. If you're in really bad shape, and especially, I'm just saying that's the slowest form of getting in shape there is maybe possibly 5 years, 3 years maybe. I don't know. It's if you're already if you're in horrible shape, it's going to take you a long time to get into shape where you think you should start at. And because you got to develop a lot of stuff that's probably never been developed before, and there's going to be a lot of pain involved with that. And maybe that's what they're doing all these exercises that they think people, because I've noticed, as like most people say, well, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. I think it's mostly because of the pain, maybe post-pain workout or whatever it is, and or post-workout pain. And these people that are completely out of shape, they've been living like a hedonist life, where it's just pleasure. And now they're going to have to deal with pain. Well, and they want to get in shape without pain. It's not going to happen. And I'm not putting anybody down, but I realized, that it's just where life puts you. And maybe it's like nobody around them's told them, it's painful to work out, or there's pain involved in getting in shape, and nobody told them that, and they didn't like it. And maybe they didn't like if they're in school, in grade school or something, and they're kind of hefty, and they were running and they got all that weight jumping up and down their bones. That's going to be painful. Maybe instead of having them jog around, maybe maybe schools need to teach this there's a lot of kids that are overweight, and they need to, maybe instead of putting them, have two different types of classes. When you go to a gym, instead of having them run around the track, which is not good, they got to get into a shape where they can run around. So maybe they need to develop an exercise program for overweight people to get into shape that allows them to start working out. They got to get into a shape that even allows them to exercise normally. And that's what I don't see that happening anywhere. Maybe China, maybe what is it, not Tai Chi. It's kind of a slow, but if you do it real slow, and I've done a couple of the exercise, if you do it as slow as they say, it's actually strenuous. People think, oh, it's just Tai Chi, but if you're not in great shape, and I think I did that in the Army, and it was like, wow, this is really you can really feel this. I'm not saying that's maybe that's something that overweight people that should start out as. But then there has to be a stair step. They have to know to do each level to get back up into shape, or to get into shape. So that you got this level, you started Tai Chi, and they think, well, Tai Chi, and then I'm going to be running touchdowns. No. Tai Chi, and I'm going to be jogging 10 miles, or I'm going to be jogging a marathon. No. You got a bunch of stair steps to get there. And I think that's what, the government, the physical education program hasn't, with all these overweight kids and all these overweight parents. And they need to develop something like that instead of the program they got now, where you're already in shape and this is just testing how good because that's basically, I think, a physical fitness test. When you was in school, they used to have that. They handed out badges if you pass. It was like 70, and a 2 mile, was it, or 600-meter run, and a long jump, push-ups, sit-ups, long jump, and a 600-meter run. And you had to do a certain amount to get, I can't remember what else, it might have been something else, but it was all to get a physical fitness badge. Now, there wasn't anything like, for, if there's a chubby kid in your class, they had to run, and all that weight bouncing up and down, of course, it might tear tissue and stuff, and they're gonna be dealing with torn tissue, and everybody else is like, well, what do you paint, whatever for. I understand that. I understand all the reasoning behind why big people, I don't want to be like that. And that's why, as soon as I check my scale, and if I see I'm starting to gain a little weight, because like I lose it in the summer and I gain it in the winter, because it's just, I don't know, maybe the heat, I don't know what it is. Sweat more, and but gyms ought to cater to these, they ought to start catering gyms to overweight people. They ought to start catering the physical education system in schools to overweight kids. They got to build them up to a point where they can be like the rest of the kids, because they're not like the rest of the kids. You can see that. And you don't point at them and say, oh, you're this. No, you say, okay, we got a perfect thing for you. This is what we've been working. I'd rather see everybody get into shape, And there's going to be people that don't, And if they want to go on a ride and have their bones thrown out of their body and then complain about all their muscles, laying outside their body or whatever, and they're in pain, that's their own problem. If they're going to do that, then why are they complaining? Why are they trying to live in what is a thrill seeker lifestyle when they don't have a thrill seeker body? And they're what are they going to do? Say, well, that's what is it? Not oppression, but discrimination? No, it's not discrimination. If you can't climb, if you say, we're all going to go mountain climbing today, and the person that's not in shape says, well, I want to go mountain climbing, and then they get injured on the first 20 feet. And then they claim discrimination, and everybody should quit mountain climbing because they can't, that's basically what's going on. Or they want to go downhill skiing, and whatever, not saying that people can't downhill ski that are overweight or out of shape. Probably some kids that snowboard that do nothing but play games, snowboard, and smoke dope, and are completely out of shape, except they have the technique of skateboarding or snowboarding down. I'm not saying that. But I think maybe they're developed a new exercise a new exercise program would develop if people were to take this serious and develop something for overweight people that maybe they're not into. Maybe it's not jog. Maybe it's a power for them. It's not endurance and like push-ups, sit-ups, and running. Maybe it's more power, and they got to develop the power. I'm just saying, it needs to be looked into, I think.